Okay, actually, so ladies and gentlemen, actually the commissioner also had to leave, and she asked an interesting question whether climate change has stopped in Copenhagen last year. So I was there actually because I'm also advising the German government on issues climate change. But I will have opportunity to explain that to her, other opportunities. Okay, the reason simply is that global warming certainly has not stopped. I'm a physicist. And the tone here in this conference is let's do business and not to worry too much about climate change, but actually we cannot ignore the physics of it. And the physics simply tell us that on the one hand, due to the retreat of sea ice in the Arctic, we will have probably colder winters in Europe for the next decades. It sounds perverse, but it's like that because the lows and the highs and so on will reshuffle across Europe. So that was what happened in Copenhagen last year. The second thing is maybe not so much known, but this year is going to be very likely the warmest year on record during the last 131 years, since we have instrumental records. And so it's rather the other way. Global warming is accelerating. Now, what can we do about it? And clearly we have to do business about it. So what I introduced in a sense, because I'm just preparing or chairing a major report for the German government on transformation, you may call it transition, whatever. We will be transformed anyway, either through unabated climate change, and actually if you go beyond 2100, where the IPCC is doing the projections, but if we assume the world is not going to stop in the year 2100, we all hope so, when global warming also will go on, and actually we do now the projection for the next IPCC report, and it is not excluded that global warming will go on till 2200 up to 8 degrees warming. We can avoid this, but in the best of all worlds, in the best of all scenarios, we just hit the 2 degrees line, in the best of all worlds, and it would mean that during the second half of this century we would have to have negative emissions. Negative emissions mean you have to extract carbon from the air. And this is just the physics I'm telling you. Now, this is a major transformation, either in the sense that global warming will change food systems, water systems across the world, or we have to reinvent our society. And you can challenge me on everything I just told you in the discussion or through email or whatever. So that is the first thing. Now, because we are delivering that report to the German government, and I'm also advising the German Chancellor, we have looked at historic examples of transformation. Of course, the Industrial Revolution, you know, the big acceleration after the Second World War, and it's always a triangle of 3 factors which is really relevant. The first one is scientific technological capacity. So Barbara Cook said this, and I can only underline this. Without innovative scientific technological progress, you have no chance whatsoever to bring about transformation. So that's the first factor. Now we are quite good in Europe, in particular in the fields of energy and so on. I mean, we have world-class capacities on that. We have to strengthen them still. But see what is happening in the US. The investment in public science technology is going down right now. This is a chance for Europe. I'm not talking about China. China is grading up everything. But compared to the US, I think the next decade is Europeans' decade. So the second factor is that new markets are being created. And that has been alluded to by the minister, by others, by the representatives from the industries. There will be new markets like carbon accounting, for example. So the consumer wants to know how much CO2 is embedded in consuming things at the supermarket, at the petrol station, and so on. But also large-scale management of carbon will become important. I can even think of industries that will lower the acidity of coastal zones, actually, because ocean acidification will become a major issue in the future. So if there is an industry that could help to make coastal waters less acidic, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry or euro industry. So the markets will emerge, I'm absolutely convinced, and Siemens is demonstrating that, and Bayer and other industries. There are two critical factors which are not dealt with in a satisfactory way yet. They will not just come about by themselves. And the first factor is clearly public acceptance. We talked about that. And the commissioner made it clear we have to tell a very compelling narrative, a very good story. Not a story about, you know, restriction and decay and so on, and we will not have a good life and so on. No, it's a story about better life, actually. Yeah? It has to be a positive, a constructive and compelling story, which is convincing our people, yes, we have to build high-power transmission lines and new wind rotor systems and so on. Yes, it has to be done like that, but it will all make us better off in the end. So this compelling story is not told yet, actually, but this workshop, I think, is part of inventing that type of story. It's very important Europe is here in the offensive and not just sort of in the defense and always trying to defend that we are somehow pioneers. No, we have to show that this is the culture which will emerge in the 21st century. That brings me to my last point, actually. I'm happy also to discuss this public acceptance issue. The last point is, unfortunately, that, and this is always what you have in historical transformation systems, it's the net amount of investment, actually. Yeah? So the net investment rates. And if you do just the data analysis, and my colleagues at the Potsdam Institute have done this, they are economists, it shows that, for example, Germany is just going down in net investments. Huh? China is going up and up and up, and Japan and Germany are at an all-time low level, more or less. This is not true for the Siemens of this world, and it's not true for the Bayer of this world, probably not also for Shell and so on, but it's true for most companies. So we just do not have the net investment rates which are needed in order to bring about the type of transformation. So we have the scientific, technological capacity. We will win over the public, I'm pretty sure, if we tell the right story. There are tremendous opportunities for new markets. But we do not have the entrepreneurship, the climate change and sustainability entrepreneurship at the broad scale, across the table, which is necessary. Yeah? In order to do that, we have to bring that up to speed. And if we just look back, it's my last remark, we did a thorough analysis of what is called in Germany the Gründerzeit, that is the founding time, between 1850 and 1940, when Germany became the most dynamic economy in the world, growth rates of 6% and so on. But you see that the net investment rates were also 3 times we have now. So if we cannot do, and this is not just the golden triangle, it's the golden square, if you include public acceptance, we have to square the circle, if you like, and to circle the square, however you put it. These 4 factors have to come together. Europe is in a unique position to do it, actually. Let's not forget, countries who invest more are not a democracy, and democracy in the end is the most creative way of organizing society. So I fully believe in that. But we have to get our acts together, and that is my last remark. According to the laws of physics, if we are not able to peak emissions by 2020, that means we come to the maximum and then go down, maybe slowly, but we have to go down, when the climate system will simply spin out of control. Take my word for it. Thank you.
Thank you.